If you were a Nintendo fan in the year 2000, you probably remember the video. Nintendo showed off a technical demo at their Space World event, a realistic, gritty, dark battle between Link and Ganondorf. It looked like the natural evolution of Ocarina of Time. We were ready for grown-up Zelda. Then, a year later, they showed us the actual game. A cartoon. A cel-shaded, big-eyed boy on a talking boat. The internet, well, what passed for the internet back then, went into a complete meltdown. We called it Cel-da. We said it was for babies. We felt betrayed. But here's the thing about being a retro dad. Time gives you perspective. And looking back 20+ years later, it's clear that the Wind Waker didn't just hold up. It might be the best-looking game of its entire generation. Welcome back to Retro Dads Gaming. Today, we're setting sail on the Great Sea. We're talking about the art style that divided a generation, the freedom of the open ocean, and why the Wind Waker has aged significantly better than most of us have. Let's address the elephant in the room, the art style. In 2002, we were obsessed with realism. We wanted more polygons, more grit, more mature textures. But realism has an expiration date. If you go back and play most realistic games from the early 2000s, they look like a muddy mess of blurry brown pixels. But the Wind Waker, it looks like a playable Studio Ghibli film. By leaning into a stylized, cel-shaded look, Nintendo made a game that is essentially future-proof. The way the smoke curls when an enemy disappears, the expressive, massive eyes of Toon Link that actually track objects in the world. It's full of personality. As dads, we understand the value of timeless over trendy. While we're out here trying to hide our gray hairs and buying expensive skin creams, the Wind Waker is sitting there on a GameCube disc, looking exactly as fresh as it did the day it launched. It was a bold move that proved Nintendo wasn't just making a game, they were making art that could survive the test of time. Let's get nerdy for a second. Why does this game really look so good? It's not just the art style, it's the tech. In 2002, the GameCube was a powerhouse, and Nintendo used it to create something called internal lighting. Because the game was cel-shaded, they could control exactly how shadows fell on Link's face. When you walk into a dark cave, the shadows don't just appear, they wrap around the characters. The heat haze in the Dragon Roost cavern, the way the ocean spray hits the camera lens, these were high-level effects that most realistic games couldn't touch. As dads, we appreciate things that are built to last. We like the tools that don't rust, and the boots that don't wear out. The Wind Waker is the cast-iron skillet of video games. It was forged with a specific vision that ignored the trends of the time, and because of that, it's still serving up a 5-star experience 2 decades later. Section 2. The Great Sea, the original open world. Before Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring, we had the Great Sea. I remember the first time I got to sail. The music swelled, the wind picked up, and suddenly the horizon was mine. There was something terrifying and beautiful about seeing a distant silhouette of an island and knowing you could actually go there. Now, I know what you're thinking. The sailing took too long. And yeah, back in 2002, without the swift sail from the HD remake, it was a slow burn. But that was the point. The Wind Waker taught us about the journey. Think about it from a dad's perspective. Our lives are usually a series of fast travel moments. Running from work, to the store, to daycare, we're always in a rush. Replaying Wind Waker forces you to slow down. It forces you to just watch the waves and enjoy the horizon. It turned downtime into part of the adventure. It wasn't empty space, it was breathing space. The soundtrack of the horizon. We can't talk about the Great Sea without talking about the music. Koji Kondo and his team did something brilliant here. The main sailing theme is iconic, but have you ever noticed how it changes? When the wind catches your sail, the music swells. When an enemy ship appears, it transitions seamlessly into a battle march. And then there's the Dragon Roost Island. That pan-plied and Spanish guitar combo? It's arguably the best track in Zelda history. It captures that feeling of island life perfectly. As a dad, my soundtrack is usually a mix of cartoons, white noise machines, and the distant sound of a vacuum. Slipping on a pair of headphones and hearing the Wind Waker score is like a 10-minute vacation. It's a sonic reminder of a time when our biggest worry was whether we had enough bait for the fishman. It's not just music, it's a mood shifter. Can we talk about Toon Link for a second? In Ocarina of Time, Link was a stoic warrior. In Twilight Princess, he was a gritty hero. But in The Wind Waker, Link is a kid. He's expressive. He gets scared. He gets flattened against walls. He makes hilarious faces when he's launched out of a catapult. When you're a parent, you see your own kids in this Link. You see that mixture of naive bravery and genuine fear. It makes the stakes feel higher. You're not just saving the world, you're watching a kid grow up in real time. And that ending? No spoilers if you haven't finished a 22-year-old game, but the final confrontation with Ganondorf is one of the most brutal and impactful moments in the entire franchise. The contrast between the cute art style and the heavy, somber themes of a flooded world and a forgotten kingdom is what makes this game a masterpiece. Alright, let's talk about the controversial part, the Triforce Shard hunt at the end of the game. If you played this in 2002, you probably hated it. You had to find charts, pay Tingle a fortune to translate them, and then sail across the world to fish them up. It felt like filler. But replaying it as an adult, I actually kind of enjoy it. When you're a kid, you want the final boss right now. You have infinite time and zero patience. When you're a dad, you have zero time, but infinite patience. The Triforce Shard hunt is basically a Sunday drive. It's a chance to see the parts of the map you missed. It's a checklist, and if there's one thing dads love, it's a good checklist. It turns the end of the game into a victory lap. You're no longer the scared kid from Outset Island, you're the master of the seas, rich with rupees, with a fully upgraded inventory, just taking care of business before the big finale. It's Executive Link mode. The dad reflexes of the seas. Revisiting this game with your kids is a trip. Showing them how to parry, that little A button flash that was so revolutionary at the time, is a great way to pass down those dad reflexes. They might laugh at the graphics initially because they're used to Fortnite, but give them 10 minutes with the grappling hook and they're hooked. It's also a great lesson in don't judge a book by its cover. We all made that mistake in 2002. We judged it for being cartoony and almost missed out on one of the most emotional soundtracks and polished gameplay loops Nintendo ever produced. As retro dads, that's our job, to show the next generation that new and shiny doesn't always mean better. Sometimes, the best adventures are the ones that were hiding behind the controversial art style 2 decades ago. Smooth sailing. The Great Sea is still out there waiting. Whether you're playing it on an original GameCube, a Wii U, or, fingers crossed, an eventual Switch port, The Wind Waker remains a reminder that joy and wonder are timeless. It aged better than most of us because it refused to play by the rules of its time. It chose style over specs, and heart over hype. It taught us that even when the world is flooded, there is always a new horizon to chase. But I want to hear from you. Where were you when you first saw the Wind Waker reveal? Were you one of the haters, or did you see the vision from day one? Let's talk about it in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to join our crew of retro dads. We're sailing through the backlog one classic at a time. I'm Retro Dad, and I'll see you at the next island. Stay retro!